the group
Yeah,
and wherever you
to
happen to
check
be.
in. Good evening and welcome to the Lakeport City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 6th. We're going to go into a closed session. Item 1, public employee performance evaluation, city manager. Number 2, conference with labor negotiator, Mayor Matina, employee city manager Ingram. Do we have anyone from the public?
No, we do not.
No one there? Okay, we will adjourn for closed session.
See you then.
We'll meet you in the other room, David.
Yep. See you then.
Ready next?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Welcome back. We are returning from closed session with no reportable action. Welcome to everyone in the room to the meeting for the City Council for Tuesday, December 6th. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Froyo,
Here.
Councilmember Parklet,
Here.
Councilmember Spur,
Present.
and Mayor Matina.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Victor, will you lead us tonight?
Of course. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Acceptance of the agenda. Do we have any urgency items tonight?
We do not.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I motion to accept the agenda as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda. The following consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon by the council at one time without any discussion. Waive the reading except by title of any ordinance under consideration at this meeting for either introduction or passage. Approve the minutes of the City Council regular meeting of November 15th. Adopt a resolution authorizing continued remote teleconference meetings of the Lakeport City Council and its legislative bodies. Adopt the ordinance modifying Title 17 land use, zoning and signs to incorporate language referencing the outdoor dining design guidelines. Direct the city clerk to prepare the 2023 Maddie Act appointments list and post at City Hall and the Lakeport Public Library. Approve the modified police officer 3 classification. Approve a resolution rescinding resolution 2874, 2022 and revising the master pay schedule in conference with California Code of Regulations, Title II, Section 570.5. And approve the warrant register of November 21st, 2022. Would anyone like to pull any of those items? Anyone from the public? Do we have anyone online?
We have people online, but I'm seeing no hands raised.
Kelly, do you want to go over the short version for people online
Sure.
to
Again.
participate?
2 years later.
I know.
So, good evening. Welcome to the council meeting this evening. If you want to participate in the meeting, you can do so by using the raise your hand function when an item is under purview of the city council. If you wish to speak about something that is not on the agenda, please do so at the public input portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. So with that, Nick, are there any hands raised?
No.
Okay, we'll bring it back for a motion.
Madam Mayor, if there's nothing further, I'd move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. To public presentations. Next, we will take public input on any item that is not on the above agenda. Anyone from the public tonight? Come on up.
So I'm kind of the Lone Ranger tonight.
Do you want to
And-
state your name again?
Yeah, Don Bays. And so I am alone, and so I'm going to ask for a little bit of indulgence because I have something to read. I wrote it down because if I don't write it down, I'm not going to say it. So last city council meeting, I better put my glasses on too.
Dawn, is this regarding a agendized item?
No.
Okay,
Well, I mean, it's
History?
kind of, yeah, it's kind of connected, but it's not
okay.
about the
Sorry
vote.
for the interruption. Please go
That's all
ahead.
right. Last city council meeting, I quoted the chair of the Santa Rosa Planning Commission, Patty Cisco, who said, "I just think an opportunity was missed to build a real neighborhood." In his retort, Mr. Skellinger said, "The planning commissioner, Cisco, wanted what we were getting in the Parkside development." He also made the distinction that Roseland was 14 acres compared to 15 in Parkside. So I wondered, what was the basis for comparison? Quoting the article in the Santa Rosa Bee, whatever it is, they said, the Santa Rosa City Council on Tuesday will hear a challenge to a 138 unit development in Roseland from a group of neighbors with numerous concerns about the addition of a large amount of new homes into a relatively rural part of the city. They also cited a lack of fairness to Roseland residents by fast tracking the development. Now, before someone says Parkside is only 64 units at the moment, if you give a mouse a cookie, he will want another. And when he gets another, he'll want a glass of milk, and so on. Continuing to read the article, the Skellinger Burbank Avenue subdivision, a project of Santa Rosa-based Skellinger Brothers Home Building Company, would create 64 apartments, 62 standalone family homes, and 12 attached single-family homes along Burbank Avenue. So on 14 Roseland acres, they will build 138 units. And on 15 Parkside acres, they will build 176 units. That's a density of 9.8 units per acre in Roseland and 11.7 units per acre in Parkside. I believe Director Byers said that 11.7 was actually over the limit at the Planning Commission. I'm not sure about that. But nobody cared. Continuing with the article, as it stands, the project would be 100% market rate and 64 apartments, 100% affordable. What is the basis for comparison to build a real neighborhood? 138 units in Roseland versus 176 units in Parkside. 9.8 units per acre in Roseland versus 11.7 units per acre in Parkside. 64 units of high density affordable housing in Roseland versus 128 high density affordable units in Parkside. 62 standalone market rate single family homes and 12 attached market rate homes in Roseland versus no market rate homes in Parkland, no standalone homes, and 48 attached single-family homes, which begs the question, why can't they build standalone market rate here in Parkside, but they can do it in Santa Rosa? So I wonder what Commissioner Cisco thought was preferable in Parkside over the Roseland development. What makes Parkside more of a neighborhood than Roseland? They seem very similar, yet very different. And Roseland seems to be superior with the market rate standalone single-family homes. Now I'm probably over, but I really do request some extra time here. With regard to insults, it was never our intention to insult anybody. But I'd like to bring some context. Kim Costa spent time learning the laws, reading the general plan by which you are to make decisions. And she pointed out, as well as we all have, why this project should not go forward. Sorry, that's part of the agenda thing, but I'm actually talking about insults. The time she spent can be measured in weeks, not hours, and it was unpaid. Last meeting, it was categorized as nitpicking, stalling, and stupid, which is more insulting. The belief that this was a foregone conclusion or nitpicking and stupid. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Do we have anyone online?
Seeing no hands raised online.
Okay. Last call in the room. All right, we are going to move on to public hearings, cross connection ordinance, first reading. Paul?
Yes. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, I'm here to conduct a public hearing for the consideration of adopting an ordinance to amend the Lakeport Municipal Code, Chapter 13.08, which is cross-connection control. The proposed amendment to the municipal code are needed to comply with the California Code of Regulations, Title 17. The proposed ordinance includes the latest updates to Title 17 that will allow the city to continue to protect its water system from potential cross-connection hazards. Lakeport initially adopted a cross-connection ordinance in 1984, and the regulations were last updated in 1992. The proposed ordinance incorporates the latest state requirements, and its adoption will allow the city to update our cross-connection control program as required by the State Water Resources Control Board. The program is needed to prevent contamination of our public water system via cross connections within the distribution system. The program is designed to reduce the hazard of contamination by identifying actual and potential cross connections and taking actions to protect the system from these hazards. Required actions include the installation and maintenance of backflow prevention assemblies where hazards are identified, and ensuring that water using equipment on the premises is installed in accordance with current plumbing code requirements and good practices. Cross connections are actual and potential unprotected connections between a potable water system and source or system containing unapproved water or a substance which is not safe. The cross-connection control program is a single document that includes regulatory requirements and program elements for administrative reference and for operational use to remove existing and reduce potential health hazards related to cross-connection. City staff has been working with California Rural Water Association to update Lakeport's cross-connection control program document. It will be submitted to the Water Resources Control Board for review and approval subsequent to the final adoption of the proposed ordinance. And this is exempt from the CEQA process. So,
Okay. Any questions before we open the public hearing? No? All right. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone like to comment on this item? Come on up.
No comment, just a question. I really don't know what a cross connection is. So what are you referring to?
yeah, so a cross connection is any potential contaminant that would enter into the distribution system, contaminate the water supply. So if you had a second source like a well on the property, or if you had chemicals in your garage, or even irrigation, anything that can go back into the main and contaminate the water supply, that's a cross connection. And-
So like
Come all the way up and state your name for us, okay?
My name's Jim Sear.
Um,
I'm from Kelseyville. So like if you like sprayed weed on a lawn or something and then it rained and the polluting factor from the chemicals from the weed spray.
no, not necessarily that,
Not
it-
that
but if you had a tank hooked up to a hose and the water was shut off for an emergency, or a fire hydrant was opened and that hose drew the tank water back in and into the supply, that would be a contamination.
Okay, I
a
just
cross
didn't
connection.
understand what a
Yeah.
cross connection was.
Yeah, and so we put in backflow devices. We require a certain amount of protection, and they have to be tested annually, and we have all the administrative duties that go with that.
Thank
So,
you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone else from the public? Nick, do we have anyone online?
Seeing no hands raised.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, oh. Still open. Nathan, come on up.
Yes, so Nathan Maxman, is this going to require backflow devices on existing outdoor faucets?
No,
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? All right, close the public hearing. Bring it back for any final comments or motion.
Madam Mayor, if there's nothing further, I'd move to introduce the proposed ordinance amending chapter 13.08 of the Lakeport Municipal Code and set a second reading for December 20th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
thank you.
Council business, city manager, Parkside subdivision. Is this going to be Victor or Kevin?
No, you're stuck with me, but Victor's here to save me if need be.
Deal.
So what's before council this evening is a second reading in regards to the adoption of a zoning ordinance amendment associated with the Parkside development. As you'll recall, at your last regular meeting, what was brought before you was a mitigated negative declaration for 176 units at the Parkside subdivision proposal located at 1301 Craig Avenue. That also included a request for a general plan amendment change for 3.42 acres from residential zoning to high density residential, and then an associated zoning ordinance change from R1 low density residential to R3 high density residential for that same 3.42 acres. Per government code, the general plan adopted by resolution goes into effect immediately, but the zone change itself, R1 to R3, does require a second reading, which is what's before you this evening. If your council does approve it, it would start a 30-day clock before it goes into effect. But it's all part of the same project. It's not a new proposal. It's just a nuance in the government code requiring a second reading for the zoning ordinance piece. So that's what's before you this evening, just the second reading in regards to the zone change from R1 to R3. But certainly Victor, myself are here to answer any questions that council or the public may have.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions? Go ahead.
I just have one question of the applicant. Has anything changed since we had the first reading?
Hi, Peter Skillinger. Technically, no. Dialogue has continued with Kim, but not beyond that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just looking for a reason to change my vote. But thanks. I had to ask.
Understood.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll open it to the public. Anyone from the public?
Just the Lone Ranger. Again, I'm going to be reading, but this one isn't as long. So despite learning there was only one ingress and egress when there needs to be two, knowing this area is rated a high fire danger, can't read my own writing, which makes making two ways in and out more necessary, despite hearing all the reasons from the general plan why this should not go forward, despite asking the important questions and getting the most negative response by your own staff. On record, by the way, you still intend to say aye to this project. We've known this to be a foregone conclusion since August 10th. But here's the thing, saying yes or aye is easy. It doesn't take courage or even conscience. It's just three little letters, but they mean so much more. So instead of saying aye, you should say, I don't care that this is a high fire danger area. I don't care if there's no way out. And I definitely don't care that the general plan, which is meant to guide your decisions, says that this project should not go as proposed. Because that is really what I means. That, oh, by the way, I want to thank you all because this has been a great experience. And I'll see you all later.
Anyone else from the public?
I have one hand raised online and then we had one submittal from
Thank you. Yeah.
from the email. So I'll go ahead and read that and then we'll all.
Okay,
So Eric Johnson writes, more homes equals more water use. Home building requires water also. Very poor timing to attempt to move forward with this project. I would have no issue with the improvements of the property if the state was not in an extreme drought, but we are. Please vote no.
okay. And then we have
We have,
a hand raised.
yeah, Kim, you're unmuted on my end. If you, there you go.
Thank you. And I want to apologize. I was going to put my entire name, but I hit the wrong button and all you got was Kim. So I wasn't trying to be so informal. And I want to thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Always appreciate the chance to give some thoughts. So, you know, we anticipate that you will vote yes on this tonight, my neighbors and I, and that's likely, presumably for the same reasons that you voted yes for the general plan amendment. We recognize that Lakeport needs housing and that this development seems to be an attractive option. But we still feel compelled to continue to speak up regarding the ways that this particular high density building, multifamily on this site is not appropriate. It doesn't appear to us to be safe or consistent with the guidelines for Lakeport's development, which, as the previous speaker said, include the general plan and it also includes the municipal code. So tonight you can make the zoning change to match the new land use designation brought about by the general plan amendment that was made, but that isn't going to change this project or this zoning change to, it's not going to cause it to come into compliance with some really important aspects of the general plan. I know that you've been in receipt of information our group has sent you regarding these inconsistencies with the plan. The last letter we provided was on 11/15, the day of the general plan amendment vote. And then that was sent again. I sent that again to each individual council member on the 30th of November. And also in that email on the 30th of November, I just noted a few points from the general plan that I want to quickly reiterate here. Some ones that I think are just really important to keep in mind. So one of them is from the safety element of the general plan, objective S1, and that is to protect the community from injury, loss of life, and property damage resulting from natural catastrophes. One of the policies there speaks to limiting building limitations in high-risk zones, discourage construction of high-density residential or other occupancy or essential service buildings in high-risk zones such as wildland fire areas. There's more language, but that was the pertinent part. That another policy there states that Lakeport will adopt the adopt and utilize the fire hazard severity scale for classification of fire hazard in wildland areas. On 11/15, it was acknowledged by city staff that this is a high risk for fire area. And again, so this would be inconsistent to build a high density build there. Also, then going to the transportation element, really, I'm going to be quick because I know your time is limited and valuable. The transportation element, the goals include to improve safety on streets for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists, preserve the peace and quiet of residential areas, reduce dependence on the automobile, and regard the quality of life in Lakeport as important. This build in a number of ways goes against those goals. One particular policy, the access to arterial or collector streets, that policy states that the city is to ensure that new developments which generate high traffic volumes, such as high density residential uses, have direct access to arterial or collector streets. This project does not. It has two small local streets in and out. And I know, thank you for your patience because you've heard this repeatedly. And this again is part of our concern and our frustration that it is inconsistent and yet it's apparently acceptable. My final one I want to point out is in the community development or community design element, where it indicates in regard to high density, and this actually relates to maintain and continue to provide a vibrant, healthy, pedestrian-oriented downtown commercial district. So that's the objective it really speaks to. It does indicate for high density, continue the pattern of concentrating high density residential and commercial development in the downtown area. So those are just a few of the ways in the last letter. I think I highlighted like 11 ways that this was inconsistent with the plan. So we have also, I know that you're aware of the the guidelines from the municipal code that you're supposed, that are part of this decision that guide you. And there's 4. It should be in the public interest. The zone change should be consistent with the general plan, Lakeport's general plan. It should not be detrimental to the community health, safety, or welfare, and it should comply with CEQA. So continues to be our opinion, and we just want to share that with you tonight, that it is inconsistent with the general plan in important ways. I'm so sorry. Hey, here, thank you. And in ways that are in fact detrimental to the community's safety. So for those reasons, we hope that you would vote no on this, anticipating that you vote yes. It would be just super helpful. We have just 2 quick requests. One would be that you could perhaps articulate how you see it as consistent, or how the inconsistencies in your mind are not compelling. And the second would be that when the comments are made, which we really appreciate, that they could be done respectfully, and knowing that everyone here has come to attempt to participate in a meaningful manner, so that the members of the public who have tried to do that, myself and my group, would not be met with derision or chastisement for that effort. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Do we have anyone else online?
No more hands raised online.
Okay. Anyone else from the public in the room? Okay. Bring it back to council. Kevin, did you want to make a few?
It's up to council if you want me to elaborate on any of those points in specific. I would go back to that staff took some great care in that last meeting in the staff report to review general plan policies in greater detail than it had in previous ones, to demonstrate its project compatibility. I don't think there's anybody that would state that Kim and her team did not do their homework well. And I think they presented some very strong information in both the last meeting and previous meetings before that certainly did, staff did go back and take a look, and we did actually, I think, make some recommendations to include some additional mitigation measures and conditions into that last one. If council would like, I'm more than happy to elaborate specifically on those, but those are all the findings and the general plan policies that were cited by staff, making the recommendation that it was compatible with both the general plan and the zoning ordinance haven't changed, per the council's last meeting and motions of finding them compatible such. But I'm more than happy to address those specifically if that's council's desire, but there really haven't been any changes.
Questions?
Well, it just seems that there's a question. Well, the one thing that comes up to me that I've heard numerous times is access to collectors. And I'm not sure that it means that you are on a collector or you have immediate access to collectors. So I really don't have, because it doesn't seem to me that you're like driving 5 miles to get to a collector. It's right nearby. And as far as the complying with CEQA, I think staff did an excellent job on there. But I would just like to point out that I could not have been more impressed with Ms. Costa and her efforts and her courteousness and her demeanor. And she has been she's just been a complete and total class act, trying to get her points across. And she did a marvelous job identifying every single tedious detail, and everyone on her team did a great job. And believe me, it was one of the toughest decisions. And I actually talked to city manager today that I felt kind of really compromised in a lot of ways, because I have a duty to do the best thing and the right thing that I feel for the city. But I felt at the same time that I left a couple people out of the equation that I would have liked to make everybody happy. But up here, it's not that easy to do. But I have the utmost respect for their team, and particularly Kim Costa for her professional demeanor in every aspect of the way she's presented it. And I just feel that this we can't all win all the time, but I do side on the side of staff. And then when the letters came and they addressed those issues, and I feel comfortable that they made the right decisions based on current law and the way it was done. But I sympathize totally, and I can completely, I really felt for a couple of days, it was really tough for me because I could really see the frustration of Kim and all the effort and her team. So don't think that this was an easy decision. And I really respect this woman and all the work that she's done and everyone on her team.
Since Councilmember Parlett, I can speak directly to, I believe it's policy from our transportation element T 10.1 regarding the access to arterial and collector roads. It does note, and I'll read it here in whole, ensure that new developments which generate high traffic volumes, such as high density residential uses and commercial uses, have direct access to arterial and or collector streets. In staff's analysis and reviewing the traffic study, we made the determination that this was not something that was creating a high traffic volume per se. Is it going to increase traffic out in this area? Absolutely. But is it something that's going to be, of a threshold that is, requiring, any greater level of, service and provision? We came to the conclusion that no. And in regards to whether or not it have direct access to arterial and collector, I see exactly what she's saying. She's reading that as high density residential uses and commercial uses, which are suggested, it's not fully saying that they have to be. Our analysis was that the only reason this was being rezoned to a high density use was for the apartment type design, not due to the density. The density of the residential land use designation allows up to 19 units per acre. In total, this whole project comes out to approximately, as Don noted in his earlier comments, to 11 units per acre for the whole site. So we didn't feel that it rose to that specificity that it needed to be directly fronted as an arterial street. I agree that it would be a better project if there was an arterial. If we had to start over without the project that was there being in place, I think it would be best to relocate that high density residential up against there, but that's not the built environment that we have. But at that being said, we didn't find that this was truly a high density project in regards to the amount of density that was being created. So that was staff's reasoning. That was what was outlined in that report. But I know it's come up a couple times, so I figured that it's best to kind of put that one out there.
Good. Anything else? Okay, if there's no other comments, we'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lakeport amending the City of Lakeport zoning maps for APN 005-030-51 known as Parkside Residential Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, next is Police Chief. Oh, sorry.
I'll start on this, and then I certainly will pass it over to Brad.
Well,
and
I
then-
was getting ahead. We're on the police recruitment policy. Kevin?
Sure. So as your council will recall at the last, at your last regular meeting, or I'm sorry, not your last regular meeting, on the November 1st regular meeting, we did bring forward some different items and things and some different strategies to kind of address the issue of police retention and recruitment specifically. So this is a follow-up to that based off of the direction given by council. We're returning to you this evening with some more specifics on there. I want to give a big shout out to the whole team that was involved in this. Kelly did a tremendous amount of research in looking at this and helping design the policy in place that I think will help, kind of guide when overstaffing would be appropriate. Dale and Brad were, of course, largely involved in this piece and, helping us kind of identify, quantitatively what is the number of officers where we really run into, issues where we would need to look at if we did become aware that there were, folks looking at other areas for employment, going maybe perhaps through background checks with other agencies and stuff. At what level would it be appropriate? Because we know this is a big ask. I mean, we're over budgeting positions, deficit budgeting in a sense. This is not something that we want to make a habit out of, but we feel that the situation warrants, that as a piece. So that's what you're seeing there specifically attached to the staff report is a kind of a police recruitment and retention program policy that would guide our actions of when this would be appropriate. And this is not something that we want to utilize on an ongoing basis, but only when deemed necessary. So that's the big piece in regarding to there. Some of the other items, flexible hiring is, I think, a tool that we need to definitely be looking at in regards to if we have candidates that might potentially, if we have an officer one position open, but we have someone that perhaps is qualified for another position, allowing kind of a more flexible, open recruitment process would help us and assist us in bringing those individuals over. And we would analyze that in the same way with that same retention policy as well. The hiring and referral incentives, this is I don't think it's an end-all be-all answer to the program, but we have seen it work in other entities. It's definitely a tool that is valuable in the toolbox, and so that's why we're including it here. So you also have our commitment that we're going to continue to look and evaluate at other strategies, things that we're finding. We're constantly looking around and seeing what is working for other entities and agencies. I think the back half there, the additional discussion talks about looking at perhaps some additional marketing, to go after recruitment and show why Lakeport is a phenomenal place to come work and live. Also looking at kind of that, we identified that gap that exists right now. We have a wonderful program at our local high school that is an administrative justice kind of a piece, but they're not permitted to be officers until they're 21. So we have that gap unit of 3 years there that potentially we could keep folks engaged and committed through a community service officer intern process as well. We've had some folks note that they would like perhaps be interested in with other opportunities, other specific duty assignments. And so that's why we've kind of looked at the detective trainee piece. So we are really constantly looking at these number of pieces. This is not something that's unique to Lakeport, which is comforting in some degree, but dissuasive in others, that we want to be out there looking all the time and making sure that not only are we actively hiring folks, but we're retaining the people that are here. Ultimately, that's the end goal of keeping the existing officer corps in place, building that experience and that commitment to Lakeport. And so that's what we've got there. Certainly, Chief, I'm sure, and Kelly and Nick and Dale may have other items to add, but this has certainly been a team effort and will continue to be. So Chief, Kelly, all yours.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Thank you, Kevin. And likewise, I appreciate the work of the city manager, the finance department, the police department, but most particularly Kelly for doing the majority of the heavy lifting on putting all this stuff together. We certainly couldn't do all this stuff without working as a team to keep it going. But Kevin summarized it well. As we've talked many times, the police staffing in this locally, across the state, across the country, is just becoming more and more difficult. Every day I read things about massive staffing shortages from departments of all size, smaller than us, all the way up to your biggest agencies that exist in this country. And it's going to continue that way. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So I think, in my opinion, we have to be outside the box and have all the options available. In regard to Kevin's comment that we're doing other things as well, I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, we were through existing policies and authorities we already have. we were able to, this team was also able to work together to promote one of our other officers that was in a background with a state agency that was going to get hired. We were able to promote that person and they accepted that and they're staying here. So we retained somebody. So we are doing work on those levels too, but this stuff is important to make sure that we don't get behind. I mean, we want to keep appropriate resources available so we can keep Lakeport what it is. We don't want to lose control of and have things get out of hand and not have enough staffing to deal with things. Lastly, as you see, we calculated kind of a number of 9 patrol staff, which includes the staffing the school as well. And that number of 9 that we think is really the minimum number we need to have to provide the basic service to the community, handle all the calls, cover the school, provide for officer safety, and also provide for appropriate supervision and control of what we have going on. But we have what we have right now is 6, not 9 in that number. We have more on budget, but just to give you an example with the folks in training. So I wouldn't come to 7 until January. I wouldn't come to 8 until April. And I wouldn't come to 9 as it sits right now until sometime between January and May of 2024. So that's why these things are important in my opinion. With that, I'll remove it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that like Kevin already touched on, just having as many tools in the toolbox as we can get. This is, I mean, everywhere I go, HR directors and police chiefs they're just up in arms over the hiring situation. And it's actually starting to leach into other departments too. Certainly not to the level, but it's just becoming, you have the Great Resignation and you have all these issues. So we certainly are really trying to stay on top of, what can we do to recruit and retain. And I want to add that the flexible hiring, and I'm not sure who came up with that idea, but that's not something that I have heard other agencies doing like we're doing it. And that's going to be really helpful to help us be nimble. So we've done that in the past. The council's been very good about, hey, last week you approved for us to recruit for an administrative specialist instead of a permit tech when that didn't work out. And we've done that time and again. We've come back and said, hey, we want to try this position instead and use those funds. This will prevent us from having to come back every time. It'll just be, hey, you got this much money, you have these many bodies, and hire who you need to that makes sense for the operation. So I'm really appreciative of anything we can do on that and to help us be a little more nimble in the process. So my hat's off to this team who is constantly trying to search for ideas. And so hopefully some of this will move that along. So I appreciate council support.
Thanks, Kelly. Hats off to our officers too, because if we're that short, then that means everybody's working that much more. And our police department's always been a top priority. And I love how creative this plan is. And hopefully it will bring some relief to that situation. Questions? Anyone from the public?
Hello, Ryan Cooley, President of Lakeport Police Officer Association. Just want to say thank you to everyone that's been working really hard to get us where we are. It's not an easy task. We're looking forward to working with everyone else about getting hopefully the staffing shortages fixed and recruitment issues. And we're here to back everyone else. And so far, everything is going great and we appreciate all the help. Thank you.
Thanks, Officer Cooley. Anyone else? Anyone online?
Seeing no hands raised online.
Okay. Bring it back to council.
Well, in conversations and going back in a little history, I think a lot of us saw Brian Martin's retiring statements and maybe the video that he said that they had 17 new hires and they lost 17. And there was an incident, there was an occasion where he was speaking over on the North Shore, and because of the lack of officers, basically the Lucerne area town hall got the word that if something goes on over there, you might just be on your own. The surveys that were done in Lakeport over the last several years said that public safety is one of the number one priorities, and streets, of course. And the thing, I've been living in this town for 47 years, and I've always felt that the safety was really well taken care of. And I used to think that, why would anybody want to work anywhere else when you have the wonderful quality of life? But unfortunately, we need to be a little bit innovative. You can't just say, hey, man, you can live here in Lake County and you got a great place to live and it's wonderful. But if you can make, 20 or 30 or $50,000 more, just a couple miles away. Matter of fact, I'm going to visit Jason over in Cloverdale for a job, I think next Saturday. And some people don't speak very highly of that, but nevertheless, this is a brilliant move, and it's never been more needed, and it's very innovative. And just to give that context, that this is something that absolutely needs to be done. And I would love to see us spend that money because we have more officers than we need and to take care of any attrition. But I'm hoping that we'll just keep what we have and keep building from below and from within, and everybody stays happy. But this is something that really needs to be done. And I really applaud all the work from all the different entities to put their input in this for something that hopefully will work to keep us at a manageable level where the chief can do what he needs to do and all the officers can do what they need to do. But I think it's a great approach.
Anything else? Or we'll take a motion.
Excuse me, I move to approve a police recruitment and retention program policy, approve a budget adjustment in the amount of 300,000 and approve a revised position allocation summary.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Council.
everyone, for coming
Thank
too.
you.
All right, next, Chief is up with the police vehicle purchase.
So Mayor and Council, what you have before you tonight is a request for the city manager to sign purchase documents for 3 additional vehicles, one being a Dodge Charger patrol car, which would be the last of the fleet of that we've been working on since 2018 or so. And then 2 Dodge special service vehicles, which are pickup trucks for command vehicles. When we started out this current budget year, we had 120,000. Actually, I think it's a little bit more, but around 120,000 approved in the budget for vehicles. And that was to get that last Dodge Charger and then to get a vehicle for me, since mine's a 2006 and I've been driving for 16 years.
I can't believe that.
But as we were getting ready to do that, I got a call from the regional USDA representative for our region, and it was the 3 days before October, and he said, hey, I just came across this. If you can spend the next 3 days doing paperwork, you can probably get 100 grand. So we did that. We did the paperwork, and the next Monday, he notified us that we got approved for $100,000. So basically what that's going to do is bring that 100,000 in. It requires a temporary adjustment, but it's a 1-year project. So we get this done, then we get the USDA funds, and essentially we get 3 vehicles for what we're going to, less than what we're going to spend on 2, a little bit less. So that's really the project. We put out for the bids, as usual, that, there's trouble getting 3 people to respond. And a lot of that is because the there's really no markup on these police vehicles, and some of the out of area dealerships get tired of giving us bids and they never get the bid because our local dealer always gets it because the bid amounts are so close and he's entitled to a 10% local preference. So that's again how it came out. And then basically the same thing with the outfitting. We are fortunate to have an emergency vehicle outfitter operated right here in the city of Lakeport that does a lot of emergency vehicles from all over the region. The other closest ones are in Sacramento. And we weren't even able to get those people to respond. So, but we got service from our local guy. And again, so all of the items would go to Mazay for the 3 vehicles and Precision Wireless here in Lakeport in the city limits. They're located over on Bevins Street. So that's the request to have the city manager get authority to sign those orders in the amount of, I believe it was 192,312.12.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions?
Yeah, how do they justify these radio prices? I mean, I think I said it the last time this car was bought with an $8,700 radio. I know there's got to be all this kind of minutia plugged in there, and they have to have them encrypted and all that stuff. I would bet money that the people making the radios are making double what Matt Mazay makes on the cars, and it just seems ludicrous. But we can't get any other bids, so you're kind of hung out to dry. But it just seems to me, it seems absolutely ludicrous.
Well, actually, the radios we already own. One of the spikes on the price here was that we need additional mobile audio video units that are quite pricey. They're about $7,000 for those setups. And we've been doing pretty good cycling out, those units from the Fords into the Dodges. And we're just getting to the point where we do need 3 other new ones, but we've been transferring to cars for several years. But the radios, yes, they are very expensive. And the outfitting is unfortunately, it's not cheap either.
It is what it is. But you don't get any other bids. It's awful hard to keep somebody honest.
Councilmember Froyo?
I thought it was pretty funny when I was reading in there that your car was worn out. I thought that was a 2006 worn out. I was curious what worn out meant, but I'm being facetious. My question too was going to be, is the existing radio equipment being reused in the new vehicles? And your answer was yes. And my last question would be, does the USDA grant also cover necessary aftermarket equipment?
Yes. Yeah, basically a little bit more on that is I was allowed to put in for basically what's 75% USDA grant is the maximum that the city of Lakeport can get. And that's at the highest end of what anyone can get for these types of grants. We're at the high end. So I had to come up with a project where we had to contribute 25% to be able to get the money. So they won't just give you cash and you don't have to put anything in. So we did the best we could to configure these command vehicles to cost us about $40,000 between the 2 of them, and then get the other 100 from the USDA.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment that, that I appreciate, I'm sure everybody does, that your officers are doing their due diligence as far as trying to get multiple bids. And I know it isn't easy, especially with supply chain issues that we're running into, but I appreciated the added email dialogue in here that showed that you made an effort to get us some competitive bids. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I also noticed in the report that you tried to do hybrid vehicles but could not find them. And that was good that you're thinking in that direction.
Well, we did actually look at one hybrid, but in my opinion, the cost was a little steeper than I wanted to pay for what we would get out of a hybrid. We are already actually looking beyond for electric vehicles and stuff too, but we're nowhere close. We have no infrastructure to deal with anything like that. So that's going to be a bigger problem down the road, but we are going to have to face it soon because we're going to be forced to, particularly or the state will start taking money away from us.
Yeah, at least you're thinking in that direction, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, anyone from the public?
We do have one hand raised.
Okay, go ahead.
Elizabeth, yeah, you're on mute on my end.
Thank you. Elizabeth Larson with Lake County News. Just a quick question about the mention of the hybrid. I was curious, the chief mentioned he doesn't have the infrastructure, but you do have solar panels. So does your solar panel system there at the department, is there a plug-in potential so that you could have like vehicle charging units if you just, when the time comes to turn your fleet to alternative fuels?
The way it's set up right now, there's no just infrastructure that we could plug into. Once we do start getting charging infrastructure down the road, that certainly can be integrated into that same system so that the solar panels are feeding into that like they feed into everything else that we have there now, if that makes sense. But as of right now, the plug-in is not there.
Whoops.
Well, we can add that later. Anyone else online?
No more hands raised online.
Anyone else in the room? Okay, bring it back for any final comments or motion.
Madam Mayor, if there's nothing further, I'll move to authorize the city manager to award bids to Matt Mazay and Precision Wireless and to sign purchase orders and supporting documents for the procurement of one fully outfitted Dodge Charger patrol car and two fully outfitted Dodge Ram SSV command vehicles and associated equipment in the amount of $192,312.12.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and our next item, taser purchase. LT, is this you?
Yes, he's gonna handle that one.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, Dale Stobie with the Lakeport Police Department. Carrying on with, it's kind of an unfortunate theme is the spending of city money with the police department. What you have before you is a proposal to authorize the city manager to enter into a 5-year contractual purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises International. They're the parent company of Taser, the brand name conducted energy weapon or energy device, and authorizing the city manager to purchase 13 Model 7 CEWs from Axon Enterprises at a sum of, I'm sorry, $36,810.80 spread over a 5-year period. To give you a little history, the Lakeport Police Department began putting tasers in the hands of our officers in 2006. We spent about 12 years kind of a la carte purchasing devices from Axon. The Taser brand is the most utilized CEW in law enforcement across the nation, with hundreds of thousands of them deployed across the world. In 2018, we finally entered into a contractual agreement with them to spread the cost of those devices, which are just short of $2,000 each over a 5-year period. And unfortunately, in March, that contract expires. So in order to continue with advancements in technology, also to take advantage of spreading the costs over a period of time, and also getting extended warranty and firmware and device support from the company. That's the proposal before you.
Perfect. Wasn't it like 10 years ago, everything was old? Like we didn't have one new vehicle. We had to replace everything. So this is a good thing to keep.
Except the chief's car.
Obviously, his got left behind. I don't know how that happened.
So does this cost also include training on the new devices, or is that something different?
It does. It includes one officer being trained to provide the training to the other officers and how the devices work and how to properly carry them, use them. And it also includes enhanced software applications, which make it a little more effective for the program administrator to download information. These are with the advancements, with time as the advancement of technology, and these things are to some degree small computers that we walk around with that capture a lot of digital data that we use and Axon uses to improve their devices.
Any other questions?
No, just a comment. By doing this before the end of the year, we're also getting a discount.
We are. They have a 8.5% increase starting in January of 2023. So
Good timing
So we
tonight.
need to get busy.
we have a little bit of time. I've been assured that whatever happens today, we can make something work. That will take all of their devices. So the pricing goes up at the beginning of next year. So.
All right, thanks, LT. Anyone from the public? Anyone online?
Seeing no hands online.
Okay, bring it back.
Well, I think the price on these is a lot more amenable than the
Than the
price of the radios.
Go ahead.
All right, then.
Knock yourself out.
I'm going to put my glasses on. I move to authorize the city manager to sign a 60-month term contractual purchase agreement with Axient Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of 13 Taser brand Model 7 CEWs as a basic bundle plus cartridges prior to 12/31/2022 with the total amount not to exceed $36,810.80, including tax.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief. Thanks, LT. All right, on to council communications. David?
I have no report. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Hope you feel better. Paul?
I have no report.
Chief?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say the ALPRs are still producing. They're producing cases. The automated license plate readers.
Oh,
Very cool.
ALPR. Got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. they're
What is the A for?
Automated,
Automated, okay.
AL, automated license plate reader.
Got it. Ron?
Thank you, Mayor and Regina. I have nothing to report.
Kelly?
Just stay healthy. Seem to be a lot of COVID and flu cases out there. Get your flu shot.
Okay.
RSV.
Victor? Nick?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Kevin?
Apologies for filling up your guys' schedule in December, but please keep your eye on that calendar. We've got two council seats to fill and a number of different various committees and commissions. So we have special meetings next Monday and Tuesday. You'll be getting your packet by the end of the week with all those applications in it. Made contact with everybody trying to gather some good questions so that we can make some good decisions. But that is definitely going to be quite a bit going on there next week on Monday and Tuesday. That's all that I have.
All right. Councilmember Froyo?
I just wanted to say that we held a Dickens Fair at the LMSA and it got some feedback. It appeared to be another successful event and it appears that you were there. Did you enjoy it?
Of course.
Good.
Love it.
Glad to hear it.
And the tree lighting.
Yeah, the trees up and down Main Street. That was a good thing. And it's starting to feel, Kevin and I, we were out at the
Blizzard event
the Blizzard event the
last
other
Thursday.
night.
There's another one this Thursday.
Yep, it
Well,
was.
serious highlight though, the Dickens. Did you guys know that Santa came to Lakeport on a fire truck?
I didn't
Walked
notice.
through the crowd, said hello to everyone, said, it's been a long time. He saw this one young lady and said, we need to talk later. And he made it up to the tree and lit it. It was the Little kids loved it. It was really great.
Great.
Were you that lady? She's taking the piss.
How good do you want to be? Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Councilmember Spur,
No report.
Pro Tem.
Yeah, well, in my capacity as a officials association, I had some good news that the Clear Lake High School football team was extremely successful this year and did a great job, and congratulations to them. It's not always that you have a local team get out there and really kick some butt. And so that was really good to hear. And as an official, where, most of the time, every half of every call you make is, everybody hates it. It's almost like being a city council member. You can't win them all. So congratulations to Clear Lake High School. One thing that I was a little upset about recently, and I just think that maybe we might want to think about this. I don't know if anybody ever notices the sky and the what some people call chemtrails. I don't want to be named as a conspiracy theorist, but I did see a program where a guy lives up in pristine Shasta County, and they did some readings of snow, and they had 61,000 parts per million of aluminum in the snow. And it occurred to me that we're in one of the largest basins where water flows in and flows into the lake and flows into the Clear Lake Oaks, Glen Haven, and Nice. And also sometimes we use it, and aluminum is a neurotoxin that's very dangerous. And I also saw this guy was interviewing about geoengineering at the Congress, and nobody knew anything about geoengineering. And it occurred to me that it might already be going on. So I just wanted to kind of plant a seed that I don't know how many people can debate the issue that there's something really weird and not normal. As a matter of fact, even pictures drawn by children in schools don't show cumulus, nimbus, and cirrus stratus clouds. They show chemtrails. And I'm just in my position as a public servant, I just feel that maybe it's time that we start asking some questions, especially if there's things like aluminum, strontium, and barium flowing into the lake. And we're all drinking that at times. It's pretty scary. So I just wanted to put that out there. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think anybody can wake up very often and look up there and not wonder what in the heck is going on, because I don't know that Congress and Senate even knows that this is going on and what it means. But I just thought maybe just put that in the back of your mind, and maybe sometime we can talk to somebody that might know, because everybody has plausible deniability. So I don't want to put a dark curtain on your life, but it just occurs to me that we might want to keep looking at that.
All right, so back to the Clear Lake High School North Coast champs. I was hoping we could maybe get them in here and honor them in a future meeting. And I wanted to thank Kevin and Chief. One phone call, and next thing you know, we have a full police, sheriff, and fire escort for the team out of town. Thank you, Chief. That everyone loved it. The boys were thrilled, and the families, and it was just really perfect small town fun. So thank you.
All of this, everybody loved it. We were happy to do it.
Really fun. So, all right, that adjourns our meeting. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.